Oh, this is, sorry, Johnson, you said? Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
I might have mispronounced.
No, I'm familiar with the notion of mental models. Yeah.
Okay, so my question is then, as a pedagogical tool, how would you suggest, or would it be suggested to use transduction or to focus on transduction across modes to engage the designer in that intellectual activity? Because it sounds to me, from everything you described yesterday and the stuff that you described here, that there's two issues going on. One, we exist in a world that is culturally driven, and we see text and literacy represented in multiple modes. Yet we are instructing pedagogically in a very limited number of modes. One way to, and I would ask your opinion on this, this is part of the question, how would we manipulate, leverage the processes you described yesterday in instructional context? Transduction being the idea of a designer intentionally selecting their frames might be another.
Well, I suppose teachers do it all the time. Like the science teacher who says, we've talked about blood circulation, I've shown you images and had to model off the body and now write a story. Because that's sort of a massive form of transduction. It's also a massive form of selection. The process of selecting stuff from 4 lessons with image, with writing, with speech, with gesture, with three-dimensional model. From all of that, selecting out that which seemed to you the most salient, and then kind of represent it in a single mode, like, and a specific genre, like a story, so something which is staged, and then I don't know what the science teacher in our kind of project thought he was doing, which is not meant to be a dismissive remark, but I literally don't know what he thought he was doing, other than maybe to make a semi-pleasurable exercise out of what might otherwise have seemed too dry or too kind of technical or something. But also maybe ask the children to kind of show the most salient terms that they know about this particular little field, and their ordering of them in a particular way. So, but in the example I showed yesterday, you also asked them to do a concept map. Now, what you then have is 2 means of assessing, sort of 2 metrics really, for how assessing. In the mental models thing in any case is a very interesting question, because it does presuppose some analogy between what is out here and what you kind of form for yourself in there, which I agree with. What I don't know is, and I think in the mental models work that I was familiar with, what the transduction wasn't actually talked about. What there was a sort of relation of the homology between the external and the internal, but nothing about the next level at which the transduction would need to happen.
Yeah. It was talked about very loosely.
Yeah.
As the cognitive engagement, the offload of cognitive load onto technology.
If you ask someone to represent a concept that they know to some degree with image, not as an image isn't a construction, it's a picture. They're asked to take a picture of a concept, given the concept. How would you go about interpreting that image relative to how the person understood the concept?
Give us the concept.
Ecology. Where this comes from is I've done this with, I have a data set, which would be really upfront and practical about it, in which I've asked science students to create different representations of a concept that they choose.
Yeah.
So they first choose the concept. So ecology is something that,
Okay.
and then they give me a textual representation of it. They give me a concept map, and then I ask them to shoot pictures of the concept. And I don't know what to do. Photographs.
Or
Yes.
draw. Yeah.
I don't know what to do with the pictures, and I'm
Okay.
quite often shocked by the literal interpretation that's expressed in the pictures.
Well, I mean, ecology. I suppose yesterday we had a discussion about the word being abstract, or rather vague. Not abstract, but vague. And image being in relation to the vagueness of the word specific. Because ecology, of course, in a sense, is a sort of a summary of different instances of specific instances of ecological something or other, sites or systems. And so if you were to now, when you've asked that, presumably that's been preceded by quite a bit of teaching on your part. Yeah, so they've got stuff. They've seen an ecological system, maybe on or.
They come in, they have been educated based upon these concepts. The origin of the education isn't necessarily me, so that there's no effect of preceding it.
Okay.
The attempt is to get
Okay.
what's in their head about the ideas.
Somebody else has done the teaching.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff that they've got to draw on, and then this was what I was sort of doing yesterday with in that workshop. I would sort of take very seriously what they represent, because every item that they represent actually is an item which they represent, something which they've selected as being salient in relation to that thing. So the things that I've seen that are not like ecology, but the example I mentioned yesterday was plant cell, where the teacher had said, in England there is a midterm break, a week which they have off in the middle of the break, and he said, over the break, I want you to construct a three-dimensional model of a plant cell from stuff which you find in your mum's kitchen or in the house. So the children had seen what a plant cell is, images of it, talking about it. So they went home and kind of, and one person, a lot of people use shoe boxes. Shoebox, and some people lined the shoebox with, is it called cling film? Yeah? Cling film, because a plant cell has a membrane. Yeah? And then they kind of needed to put a nucleus in it. One young woman asked her mum if she could cut up a bath sponge, and cut up a bit of bath sponge, and she dyed the bath sponge with it, and that became the nucleus. And others wrapped up little bits of sugar cube for the, what are they called?
Rhinestone?
Which?
Rhinestone?
No, the energy bits in the. Yeah. So they wrapped up sugar cubes in green cellophane, and they were in there. And then we sort of said, what, the bath sponge, and we had a little exercise yesterday on cells and nuclei, but why did you use the bath sponge? Oh, she said, because it's like the brain of the cell. It's like the brain, it's absorbed. Yeah. And why was it dyed red? Because it had it's most important, it had to be significant. Why the cling film? Because it had a membrane. Why the sugar? Because the plant, the cell stores energy. So each of these things, in a sense, showed real reflection on the job, which could never be expressed in that detail in a written account. Do you see? Yeah. Do you see what I mean? It's sort of trusting to their seriousness in engaging with it, but then reading seriously what they've done. So that was my